Some places don't feel empty, even after everyone has left, even after years of silence. They don't need stories or warnings. They don't need signs or fences. Something about them makes people turn back, not out of fear, out of instinct. Across the world, there are buildings and locations people avoid without fully knowing why. Hospitals, hotels, villages, institutions that were once full of life, now abandoned, or worse, left standing but rarely entered. People who have been inside describe the same feeling, a pressure, a resistance, as if the place itself notices them. One abandoned hospital was officially closed decades ago, records removed, equipment taken away, doors locked for good. On paper, it was finished, but people living nearby insist it never truly shut down. Lights were seen late at night, flickering on in upper floors. Footsteps echoed through empty corridors. Elevators moved without power. Security alarms triggered with no intruders. Former staff refused to talk about it, not because they were told not to, but because they didn't want to remember. Urban explorers who entered the building described an overwhelming sensation the moment they stepped inside. Not panic, not fear, just heaviness, as if the air itself resisted them. Several reported hearing faint medical sounds, metal trays, distant beeping, a rhythmic pulse that resembled heart monitors. There was no electricity. One explorer left early after hearing a voice quietly say his name. He didn't hear it with his ears. He felt it. He never returned. Another location, an old asylum built far from the city, was designed for isolation. Patients were treated, studied, and forgotten. When the building closed, officials blamed outdated practices. Locals said something else had gone wrong. Visitors who entered described time behaving strangely. Minutes stretched. Sounds arrived late. Footsteps echoed longer than they should have. One person walked down a hallway that never seemed to end. Doors repeated. Rooms felt duplicated, as if the building itself was looping. There were no apparitions, no screams, no visible threat, just the sense that the place wasn't done with the people who had once been inside. A hotel still operates in another city. During the day, it appears ordinary. Clean rooms, friendly staff, normal guests. But after midnight, floors quietly close. Guests are given vague explanations, maintenance issues, safety concerns. Those who stayed anyway described the same experience. They didn't sleep. They heard doors opening and closing in the hallway, footsteps that stopped just outside their rooms, knocking that happened only once and never again. Some woke up to find furniture moved slightly, not dramatically, just enough to be noticed. One guest reported seeing a reflection in the mirror, someone standing behind them. When they turned, the room was empty. They checked out before sunrise. So did most people who stayed past midnight. Then there are villages that still exist physically, but not socially. Roads lead in, houses stand, furniture remains, but no one lives there. Records show families leaving suddenly, meals unfinished, personal belongings untouched. Locals say people stopped returning from the village. Those who entered alone were found days later, disoriented, unable to explain where they had been. Most refused to speak about it. Those who did described the same thing. Silence, not peaceful silence, expectant silence, as if the place was waiting. What these locations share isn't horror in the traditional sense. There are no monsters, no rituals, no dramatic events. What they share is avoidance. People leave, and they don't come back. Because something about these places communicates a warning, not loudly, but clearly. Midnight matters, not because it's supernatural, but because it's psychological. It's when places feel less supervised, less observed, less controlled. These locations don't become dangerous at midnight. They become noticeable. People who have been inside say the same thing. It felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. That feeling alone is enough to make someone leave. The most unsettling detail isn't what happens inside these places. It's what doesn't. There's no closure, no explanation, no clear reason. Just a quiet understanding that some locations hold on to what happened there, and they don't let go easily. That's why people avoid them, and why no one stays after midnight. There is a difference between a place that is abandoned and a place that has been left behind. Abandoned places are empty. Left behind places feel occupied. People often say they felt watched, but that isn't always accurate. What they really felt was attention, as if the location itself was aware of them. Some buildings don't echo properly. Footsteps return too slowly. Voices feel absorbed instead of reflected. People describe this as bad acoustics, but they still lower their voice. One man entered an old medical facility scheduled for demolition. The exterior looked harmless: broken windows, rusted doors, nature reclaiming concrete. Inside, everything felt smaller. Hallways narrowed subtly, ceilings felt lower, the air felt thicker. He described it as walking underwater without the water. Nothing happened, no sounds, no movement, no sudden fear, but every instinct told him to leave. He didn't run, he didn't panic, he apologized. Not out loud, just internally. And then he left. Another location, once a treatment center, still had furniture inside. Beds neatly aligned, chairs facing nothing. Visitors reported an odd compulsion to sit down, to rest, to stop moving. One person described standing still for several minutes without realizing it. Their body relaxed, their mind went quiet. They only snapped out of it when their phone vibrated. The moment they stepped outside, the feeling vanished. They never went back. Some places don't frighten you, they slow you down. That's worse. In a mountain region far from any major city, an old settlement remains intact. Houses stand, doors still open and close, but no one lives there. People who visit report a strange sense of familiarity, as if they've been there before, not in memory, in feeling. Several visitors independently reported standing in a doorway and feeling unsure whether they were entering or leaving. The direction didn't matter. Inside and outside felt the same. A man spent less than 10 minutes there before becoming overwhelmed by a sense of confusion. He couldn't remember why he came. Not in a dramatic way, just a blank space where intention should be. When he returned to his car, he sat there for a long time before driving. He couldn't explain why. Some hotels are avoided, not because of stories, but because of patterns. Guests request refunds without complaint. They don't leave reviews. They don't tell anyone what happened. Staff members notice it in behavior. Guests who stayed late don't make eye contact the next morning. They speak quietly. They leave early. One employee described a guest who checked out at 3 a.m. When asked why, the guest paused, then said, "I kept feeling like I was being counted." Not watched, counted, as if presence itself mattered. Hospitals that close rarely feel finished. Too many emotions pass through them. Pain doesn't dissipate quickly. Neither does confusion. One former nurse described returning to her old workplace years after it shut down. She stood outside for a long time. She said it felt wrong to enter, not scary, disrespectful, as if the building was still processing something. She never went inside. People often ask why these places feel different, why some abandoned buildings feel neutral while others feel heavy. There are theories: psychological imprinting, environmental memory, human suggestion. But those explanations don't account for consistency. Different people, different cultures, different expectations. Same reaction: avoidance, quiet, withdrawal. Another pattern appears again and again. People don't stay long. Even those who don't believe in anything unusual leave early. They don't push themselves. They don't challenge the feeling. They respect it, as if the place has authority. There are villages where birds don't land, where animals avoid crossing certain boundaries. Locals notice these things. They don't explain them. They simply don't go there. One resident described walking near such a place and feeling dizzy, not sick, disoriented, as if direction itself was unreliable. He said the ground felt level, but his body disagreed. He turned around immediately. Another visitor described losing track of time completely. Their watch continued ticking. Their phone recorded the visit. But subjectively, the experience felt compressed. Moments overlapped, nothing happened, and yet everything felt wrong. The most unsettling aspect of these locations isn't what you see, it's what you feel afterward. People report lingering effects: restlessness, discomfort in familiar spaces, a sense that something followed them, not physically, but cognitively, as if awareness itself had shifted. Some avoid silence after these visits. Others seek it. Some sleep poorly. Others sleep too deeply. The experiences don't resolve. They fade slowly, like an echo that refuses to disappear. There is an unspoken rule with places like this: you don't return, not because you are afraid, but because you understand. You were not meant to stay. These locations don't trap people, they repel them, gently, firmly. And those who listen leave. Those who don't often regret it, because the places don't react, they don't chase, they don't threaten. They simply remain, unchanged, as if waiting for the next person who ignores the warning. The silence in these places isn't empty, it's attentive. And once you notice that, you don't forget it. You just learn not to go back.